Greetings, everybody. I want to welcome you here to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So for those of you who are new, we are doing an episode of What's New. What's New is an episode we do every Thursday night in which we talk about rock albums that were released within the year that we are in. In this current year, it's 2024. The album we're doing tonight is from an Australian band, a progressive metal album. Basically, that's the genre they fall within. And the band's name is Caligula Horse. The album's name is Charcoal Grace. Album was released on January the 26th, 2024. About 62 minutes in length on the Inside Out Music label. And the producer of the album is Sam Valen, or Valen. I think it's Valen, probably. He is the guitar player for the band. So this features the Caligula Horse, which is the band. Jim Gray on vocals, Sam Valen on guitars, Dale Prince on bass, and Josh Griffin on the drums. In addition, we have other musicians playing bits on this as well. Kate Prerepas on cello, Sophia Willis on flute and clarinet, Victoria Taylor on the trumpet, and Samuel Andrews on the violin. There is quite a bit of synthesizer, piano, keyboards, and real kind of a spacey sound on the album that's not really credited. I'm not sure where who's doing this. I know that Valen is doing a lot of the production and engineering, so maybe perhaps he's doing that as well. I don't know. I'm just guessing at this point for that. So anyways, so there's a lot of this synthesizer, piano, and keyboards on it, which create this really kind of a symphonic sound, almost spacey sound at times. Basically a good filler for the background of the for the sound for when they're making the songs. You get a lot of filler, a background filler, which really keeps it from sounding hollow, I think. But some of this stuff is actually quite forward as well, so you're not just getting that kind of spacey sound you get with a lot of those symphonic prog bands. So this one I wouldn't say is a symphonic prog band. They do have some of that in their music for sure, but they also have that a little bit heavy metal, but I think they're probably more of a prog band, or a progressive band if you prefer, than I would have thought when I started to listen to it. The solos on this album are more musical, and they're not really heavy metal sounding too, so you have this kind of soloing going on. It's melodic, a little bit melodic in a lot of cases, but it's almost like picking that you would get on a song where they're picking a lot. But it's not really that way either. So it's kind of somewhere in between the solo and the picking part, and it's kind of musical. So it adds a lot of kind of sound effect, I guess, to the songs. The riffing is very metal-like, really good. Lots of that high sound metal that you get with when you get serious scraping, as you want to call it that. But so really interesting metal sound to it. The vocals are of a kind of a more of a, well, a lot of them are more of a high tempo range, like maybe a higher tenor range, I guess is probably a better way of putting it. Although they're not quite in that soprano area, but they're definitely just like maybe just a little bit under it. And then you have more vocals in the lower registry, which is that it was somewhat raspy actually, and darker and deeper. I'm not sure if somebody else is doing one or the other, but I'm pretty sure it's just Jim Gray and his different ranges, which is he's pretty strong in his ranges, I think. You have a very melodic, you have this very melodic prog and they're passing car with squeaky tires. I don't know what the hell was that. Anyways, very melodic prog with a very heavy metal sound at times. almost hard rock. Some, maybe a little bit less at times, a little bit hard rock instead of that metal sound. But definitely a strong album in a lot of ways. It's got this somewhat melancholy feel to it, to the entire album. It's kind of dark, a little bit dark, and I wouldn't want to call it depressing or anything like that, because I don't think it is, but it's definitely in that dark range. I think it's a good album. I think it's got a lot more of those melodic, low, slow, softer kind of proggy stuff on it than you would think. Yeah, definitely more of that, and maybe a little bit less of the metal sound that I was kind of thinking I might get here. Anyways, a really good album. So I'm just going to talk about, I'm not going to talk about all the tracks. I have got a couple of them here I like quite a bit. There are, I think, 7, 8, 9, 10 tracks on the album. We'll start with talking about the first one, The World Breathes With Me. That's the opening track. It's got this kind of piano, keyboard, kind of synthesizer opening. It creates a very strong kind of symphonic atmosphere on this particular part at the beginning. The keyboards or the guitars, pretty heavy sounding. There's actually a kind of a speed, almost a speed metal type to this particular track. There's a little bit of that throughout the album too. I didn't mention that earlier, but they do have that. They definitely have a little bit of that speed metal stuff going on. Yeah, this is a good song. Kind of catchy in a lot of ways. I like it. Yeah, probably one of my two favorites. The other one is the first part of the 4-part suite, if you want to call it. Charcoal Grace 1, Pray. That's the title of the song. The vocals are, the riff is very heavy on this particular track. The guitar part is the part that makes it heavy. It's really heavy riffing sound. Vocals seem almost strained, like he's almost pushing it to try and make it sound heavier and pushing his vocals into his kind of a strained sound. Yeah, I just like this song a lot. The other three, Charcoal Grace 2, A World Without, Charcoal Grace 3, Virgil, and Charcoal Grace 4, so Give Me Hell. All good tracks. No real bad ones here. Maybe the number 3 I'm not as crazy about, but the other 3, pretty good. Lots of different sounds, lots of distorted vocal parts, lots of keyboards, and that symphonic kind of metal, almost spacey sound that I talked about earlier. And then, the album is like that throughout. It's got little bits of difference of everything. There's that little bit of that speed metal, a little bit of that hard rock and heavy metal, definitely prog metal in there, and some more atmosphere, almost spacey. There's some elements of their music that almost sound like Hawkwind, although the album itself doesn't sound anything like Hawkwind, but they have a lot of those similar elements mixed in their music. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of What's New. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Much appreciated. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any content. If you've got any comments about the album in general or the group, if you know anything more about it, you want to add to it, you put it in the comment section below. And just so you know, we will be probably back. Well, we will be back next Thursday with another album that just released recently. I'm no longer going to be doing the other thing I want. No, first of all, I'll say the one thing. I'm no longer going to be doing the little bits at the end. I'm just telling you for tonight, but because I'm going to be doing this week again. I started it last week. I just want to make it shorter. It was too long before, so that's what we're going to attempt to do. And the other thing of note is that Ben is now sent me an email saying that he has some ideas. I've looked at some of his ideas. They look great. So we'll be doing something in the near future. Haven't been able to answer his emails because for some reason my emails are not being sent out. I'm not really sure what that's about. Could be just something with the internet yesterday. I'm not sure. But anyways, we'll be sending it as soon as we can. We'll get in contact and have him back. I'm sure he's got some great ideas. He always does. And we will see you next week for What's New. So take care. Goodbye.